Howdy folks, this is the 900mm wingspan FPV wing from TechOne Hobby and Banggood. This is a very interesting designed wing. It's partly EPP and partly carbon fibre plate, just like a mini quad. It's kind of a marriage of two different technologies, the mini wings and the mini quads. Very interesting, and about time something like this was designed. It has a little mini quad motor and ESC and a little three-bladed prop. I think it's probably going to be better with a two-bladed prop so that it doesn't hit the ground, but we'll see about that. All up flying weight is 630 to 670 grams. It comes with a 45 amp ESC. What is it, a 2500 kV motor, so it's going to be a racy little wing. Okay, let's open it up and have a look at it. Everything is in separate bags and sort of stuck down into position. Mine was a little bit bent up when it arrived, but no damage at all. So here's the interesting centre section. So that's a skeleton of carbon fibre. We have a T-motor F80 250 kV motor, and we have ESC in there, XT60 connector, a little vibration damping mount for a Mobius or something like that, or a run cam, and space for the FPV camera in there. So here are all the parts laid out. We have a couple of little winglets. An EPP is usually very, very floppy, but these have got carbon spars top and bottom, which makes them nice and stiff, and they just get glued onto the wing ends. We get a roll of extreme packing tape, and we also have extreme packing tape already installed on the leading edge of the wing. A couple of 11-gram Metal Gear servos, which is nice. Lots of sticky, soft mounting tape. A couple of servo extensions, some groovy looking carbon fibre control horns, and servo mounting surrounds, push rods, little three-bladed prop, the mounting tape, some sticky back Velcro, and some Velcro mounting straps. And another cool thing about this plane is the wings are just held on by magnets. We've got these two little spars here, but if you just, I don't know how effective it's going to be, but the wings are just sort of held together in there with magnets, so I guess in a decent crash they're just going to pop off and not destroy everything. Very interesting. Nice big control surfaces and decent hinges too. Very interesting. The wings are stiff as anything. They've been nicely reinforced with carbon fibre inside, I would imagine. Very good. Alright, let's put it together. Now I've just removed the 4 screws from the top plate so that we can have a look inside the fuselage. Nice little tough carbon fibre plate. Here we have the ESC, 45 amp ESC. Looks like an opto one, because we also have a BEC kind of piggybacked on there. Everything's hardwired in, soldered directly from the motor to the ESC. We've also got more wires taking off from the XT60 plug here. That'll be going to the BEC, and that'll be power for the receiver and servos, and that'll be signal for the motor. And I measured with a 3S battery plugged in there, I measured the voltage coming out of here, and it was about 6.5 volts. And I guess that shows that this is directly from a mini quad setup with opto ESC and mini quad motor. It seems a little bit of a complicated setup to me. I would have thought it'd be easier just to have an ESC with an onboard BEC ready made up, but we'll see how this goes anyway. We can always change it later on if we want to. Okay, the first step is to glue on the plywood servo mount around the hole, and I'm using U-Hoop for that. That's nice and strong. And once that's nicely glued, I'm fitting the servo, and we have to cut a slot for the servo lead to come out through the centre of the wing, and so that it lines up with the hole going inside the centre fuselage part, we want the slot to sort of be coming out just in front of the CG mark there. So you want a really nice sharp blade for that, and it'll cut through the EPP relatively easily. Need to go a bit deep there so we can poke the servo end right through and out through the hole. Poke a hole through there, I think, and there we go. And just sort of force the servo wire down into the slot. There we go, that's going well. I'm going to cover the whole wing with as much of this extreme packing tape as possible, just to stiffen it up really well. And the servo is just going to be screwed into the servo mount. That means it will be easy to pull out in the event of a bad crash. Servo is in, same for the other side. Now we're provided with a choice of 3 different size servo arms. The shortest one is the one to go for, I think. That's going to be about the same distance from the hinge to the connection point, so that'll be about right. You'll never use that much throw anyway. Don't forget to put the little retaining bolt in, or you'll be disappointed. So now where to put the control arm in. So that's where the push rod is going to connect in, and it perfect size hole for the push rod, which is very nice indeed. And we have little linkage adjusters on the control arm. We want to come back perpendicular to the hinge, something like that. Glue it in around about here. Not exactly sure how to glue these in, but lots of glue and we'll be right. Try and get that linkage adjuster right over the hinge. Now there's another little thing I noticed. When you flex right up, this corner here is binding a bit, so I'm just going to cut that little bit off. Free it up a bit. There we go, that works better now. Now I wasn't absolutely sure what would be the best glue for this one, so I've gone for 5-minute epoxy. Yoo-hoo pours better for joining 2 surfaces together rather than a narrow thing into a slot, so let's just see what happens with epoxy. At least I can get it right down in that slot there. So we've got it all connected up. I've actually put a little bend in the control rod there just so that it comes in at a nicer angle to the control arm. And it's got heaps to throw, more than I could ever use, I think. Nice and solid, ready to go. Wings usually need a little bit of up trim on the elevon, depending on the airfoil they're using. Now just looking at the airfoil on this root rib, it's kind of symmetrical. I think it actually does have a little bit of reflex in the back section there, or at least it's flat on the top and still curved on the bottom. So that looks like it's a proper flying wing airfoil. Now what I'm going to do is put some more of this extreme packing tape all over the place, just to stiffen it up even more. Don't know how much is on the roll, so I'll have to just do the same on each wing to make sure I don't do one and not the other. I managed to do, well, most of the bottom, I suppose, apart from the ailerons or elevons, or whatever you want to call them. A couple of lengths on the leading edge. I actually ran out for this wing, so I've used some of my own tape just to even it up. And I'll just leave it like that for the moment. I may eventually cover the whole thing. Let's see how it flies first. So now what I have to do is glue the winglets on. And I'm just going to use some Yoo-hoo pour to glue the winglets on. So I think the wider bit goes on the top, right end goes on the outside, I would think. So that goes that way. Hope I've got enough Yoo-hoo pour. Just spread it over both surfaces. Then put it aside to dry for a little while. Alright, that should be dry enough now, so make sure I've got the right way around. Locate the trailing edge and bring the leading edge down. Push down, and that should be pretty well stuck. Alright, so I've glued the winglets on. The Yoo-hoo pour wasn't all that good, so I've added some Gorilla Glue in there. It's still setting at the moment. assembled it all. Got the little servo extensions here so that if the wings pull off, they're just going to disconnect the extensions rather than rip them out of the receiver. Shove them back in the hole. Hope those magnets are going to be strong enough to hold everything together. But I could always tape it across underneath, I suppose. Put some tape across there maybe just to hold it for the first flights. Going to put a run cam up here. FPV transmitter will sit down inside like that. I'll have to route these antennas somehow so they don't get destroyed. And I don't have a 4S battery that's going to fit, so I'm going to have to run it on 3S, but that's okay. And I need to do a current test. It's got a wicked noise, and that was pulling about almost 20 amps flat out and with heaps of thrust, so I think we'll be fine with 3S. And for CG, with the run cam and the transmitter and the battery, that's balancing just about right on the CG marks, so that's good. Or I can just move the battery all the way forward and it'll balance okay as well. Maybe I'll do that for the first few flights. Just for safety, I'm going to tape the wings together just so they don't go flying off on me. And because all of this is taped up, the tape sticks beautifully. There we go, that's going to stay together pretty much. Alright, so there we go. We're ready for a maiden. And this is a serious looking little race wing. There's the FPV Wing 900 from TechOne Hobbies and Banggood. Purchase link is in the description. And next up, I'm going to take this for a maiden once the glue sets on my winglets. Should be fun. Thanks for watching.